Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Alter Your Health Live, your source of information and inspiration to promote the holistic transformation of your health and the health of our planet. I'm your host, Dr. Benjamin Alter.
And I'm your co-host, Dr. Susanna Alter.
And we're back with you again. This time we are in New York City. We're in a hotel. This is our new environment for a few days. And we're here for a family affair, a wedding, and it's wow, what a crazy change of pace, change of speed, going from Colorado, our new home, to New York for a long weekend. And so for those of you who might be it's your first time tuning in, we are both naturopathic doctors. We practice holistic lifestyle medicine based in Carbondale, Colorado, and also serve the online community through our online consultations that we offer through at www.altered.health. And in today's episode, which is episode number 97, holy cow.
Holy cow.
How did we get there?
Time flies.
Time flies. So in today's episode, we thought we would address something that is pertinent and relevant to us in this present moment, and that is energy and protecting and nurturing our energetic bodies. And I think it's a really big, complex, poorly understood topic. I don't consider myself an expert in terms of energy bodies and energy stuff, but I do consider myself sensitive to that. What about you, Susanna?
Certainly sensitive and learning more and more each year. And I mean, this idea kind of came to mind because Ben and I have experienced in past trips to New York City mainly that when we were here, we just experienced kind of an unexplained dip in energy. And we could say, oh, maybe it's the pollution, maybe it's the this, maybe it's the that. We could blame it on many, many things. But one thing that just really resonated with both of us was, this fact that there's just so much energy here in New York City. There's so much going on. There's so many moving parts. And we felt as though we were very sensitive to it. And it actually took a toll on our personal energy and made us feel a little bit low energy. So
in this episode, I want to talk about kind of how we might be sensitive, so to speak, to energetic influences in our world, how those sensitivities and energetic influences can impact our overall experience of health, physically, physiologically, mental, emotionally, spiritually. And I also want to talk about things that can kind of bolster and support and shield us and create a sense of resilience when we are in what would otherwise be maybe energetically draining scenarios, like for us being in New York City. It's always interesting when I hear people talk about being in a city like New York and just feeling so alive and inspired, and oh my gosh, it's so much happening, so much fun.
Some people are.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, there is a lot happening, and I can understand how it can be a lot of fun if you're in the right environment, in the right space. And for me, it feels at least simply unsustainable to subject myself to that quote unquote sort of energy on a long-term basis. But
and it shows you that different people are different and respond to different environments in a different way.
Exactly my point. Yes. And I know, in even just saying that here today, right now, I know that there are actually practically things that I can do for myself, ways that I can show up, things that I can change internally, externally, that can and would support me in surviving in New York City. Even, because some of us don't have a choice to pack up and move to the mountains if that's where our heart is called. Sometimes some of us have physical world responsibilities that require us to show up in whatever city or environment or family dynamic or energetic bubble that we're called to be in. So we want to make sure that we're able to show up in our strength, in our authenticity, to our fullest potential. So,
Great. Well, you said that you wanted to kind of start off by talking about how people can be influenced by energy. So why don't we start there?
how can people be influenced by energy? Well, I think it's important to just state that energy is like invisible. We can't really necessarily see it, and but we certainly all can feel it. You know, I like to just bring it forth the example for people who have a hard time wrapping their minds or thoughts around energy. If you have ever walked into a room where there has just been a dramatic fight, an argument, a conflict, maybe there's silence, you walk in, and beyond the silence, you feel the tension, you feel the I don't know what other words to put on it, but you feel that. And on the other side of things, maybe there's a surprise party and everyone's quiet, and you walk in and there's like this kind of exciting, like really enthusiastic energy that's just kind of percolating in the room, and you can feel that too. And that is a completely distinct and dramatically different feeling than the conflict, tension, energy that we could be exposed to. So those are kind of two ways to just understand the concept of energy and how we can relate and how it can impact our feeling. So that being said, for different people, based on where they're energetically at, they can be resonating with the energy of a city or a room or a building or a company or a business. Every we have this kind of relationship mentally and emotionally with whatever dynamic we're in, whether it's our family or a group of friends or our neighborhood, whatever it may be. And we also have this energetic relationship where it's really kind of a resonating effect of my energy resonating with New York City in the current moment. Or actually now I feel like a little bit out of touch with New York City. Now I'm in this nice hotel room, and I kind of feel a little bit back in my element, so to speak. That being said, I know, back to this point, I know that there are things that I can do that will support me in being resilient as I go back down onto the streets of New York City and interact with that energy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
did we speak to the first point?
I think we did.
Yeah. So energy, how it influences us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some people are very, very sensitive to energy around them, and other people are less sensitive, and there's no one better
Right.
way. And so, yeah, so some ways to protect ourselves, to protect our energy. Should we shift into that?
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
I think that's like the most important thing, right?
It
Because
is.
I think we can feel kind of disempowered energetically. It's like, oh gosh, I gotta go into that meeting. Oh gosh, I gotta
Right.
walk through that, down that street. Oh
Mm-hmm.
gosh, I gotta do this. And we might feel in those periods of time disempowered. What the heck do I do? How can I show up? And I think the biggest secret key that I've found, and I'm definitely curious to have this conversation with you, Susanna, but the biggest key that I've found is to really emit the energy that I want to experience. I think we all kind of desire to be, we'll call it in a positive energy scenario. And we expect our outer environment to give us that positive energy feeling. So it's like, we just kind of walk out in kind of a blank slate and just hope that the street we walk down is going to give us some positive vibes. But I think that the most power that we have in influencing our experience energetically is to bring the positive vibes. And actually, and what I mean by that, it's like, once again, it's kind of a nuanced, like kind of woo woo kind of idea. But what I really mean is like give that positive energy, whether it's a smile, whether it's like a hello, whether it's like a thumbs up, a wave, like, or whether it's just like being grounded in who you are as you're walking down the street. Emit that and share that and radiate that, because there is this kind of law, universal principle that what we put out, we get back. And it is, once again, another kind of palpable, energetic principle. And so I think that one of the greatest things that we can do, is, I think the first thing is just be aware of the energetic environment that we might be in any moment, and be aware of our individual personal power in influencing that energetic environment by, simply emitting, sharing the energy that we want to experience, the good vibes, the positive vibes, the vitality, the joy, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of like maybe a more solemn gathering of people, and then all of a sudden like this character comes in who's just this goofy person that's just emitting joy and emitting energy, and how that one person can really influence the energy in a room by what they bring to it.
Oh man.
A friend of mine just came to mind.
Yeah. We all have that friend.
Yeah. Yeah, and when I think about how we can protect ourselves from external energy, I think of how we can do so on the physical realm, on the mental realm, and on the spiritual realm. And what I mean by that is, well, I'll start off with just some kind of like basic kind of physical things that we can do. And one of these I learned from my mentor. She taught me and Benjamin about these energetic channels in our body. And if you talk to an acupuncturist, they'll talk about these the meridians of energy, of chi, and how they cross through our body like an X. And we can be in positions that support the flow of that energy, and we can also put ourselves in positions that actually cut off that flow of energy. And so she was explaining that how when we, for example, cross our legs, I'm looking at Ben because he has his legs crossed right now.
But how does this have to do with our influence and connection with that? Because we're talking about like protecting our energetic bodies, our energetic fields in the context of the outside world beyond ourselves.
Well, because the way I see it is that when we kind of short circuit our own energy, our internal energy, we can actually become more susceptible. We can become more weak.
Yeah, I don't necessarily see it that way, but
well, hear me out.
Okay.
Because they're like, for example, we can sit someone down and we can muscle test them with their legs crossed, and we can muscle test them with their legs uncrossed, and we see that when their legs are crossed, that weakens their body. And that's why it's important when you are muscle testing someone to always make sure that their legs are not crossed. And you can cross their ankles, but just not at the knee level and above, and same with the arms. And so my understanding, the way that I look at it, is that if we are sitting like this, our arms crossed, our legs crossed, we're kind of like, we're guarding ourselves in a way, because we're almost trying to like close off anyone else's energy from coming to us. But we're cutting our own natural flow of energy, weakening our strength and immune system, and just, I'm not convincing you at all.
No, because I thought we were talking about kind of our interaction and relationship with our outer energy environment, given the fact that we're, having this discussion about being in New York City and kind of protecting ourselves amidst the, maybe potentially, well, quote unquote, negative energy or overwhelming amounts of energy we might be exposed to.
And how I see it is like, by by strengthening your own, it's almost like your own energetic immune system, you are more resilient to the outside energetic forces. For example, if you don't sleep at night, if you just, don't sleep the whole night through, and we all know that lack of sleep lowers immunity. Then you go out into the world and you're exposed to certain pathogens, you're more likely to fall ill, by some kind of negative influence coming in. And so I see it as, when we strengthen our own internal energy, um, we are really, I just keep repeating myself, but we're really creating a stronger protective mechanism against negative outside energy.
Yeah. So your kind of theory or approach is kind of just focusing on strengthening and like being stronger amidst whatever energy we're exposed to, so we can kind of like, so it like kind of bounces off or doesn't affect us as much.
Well, yeah, and it's not so different than what you were saying too about, I heard you saying being, grounded in your own energy and
Yeah,
being present.
well, I think, yeah, for me, like the most important thing is to be aware. If you're walking down, if I'm walking down the street and I'm aware that the energy is intense, overwhelming, draining me, that is the first and most important point in changing the course of my energetic relationship in that moment. The awareness. And then with that awareness, for me, naturally comes a sense of groundedness, remembering my potential, creative power in that moment. And then the third thing is to like consciously shift how I am relating, awareness, remembering kind of my creative power, and then using that creative power to shift my energy, in that environment. And I think that, your kind of physical, like how we're holding our body and awareness of that is probably, the second step, to being grounded in yourself. Because yeah, maybe if you're wrapped up in crossing your energy, then maybe you don't have as much potential in grounding, because we're, blocking the flow of our kundalini, or whatever we want to call it.
Right, and so you're talking a lot to the mental ways that we can protect ourselves and relate to outside energy, and I just wanted to speak to some of the physical things that we tend to kind of brush over.
Yeah.
So,
I think that we have a lot more leverage in our mind energetically than physically.
Certainly, I just wanted to
Yeah.
bring it up because I think it's, something to be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, something that's interesting to be aware of.
Because on the same, on the same notion, if we're energetically drained and we are, say it's, 10 o'clock at night, and we're feeling energetically drained, and we haven't slept in 36 hours, and we haven't drinking any water all day, there's only so much that we can do, mentally and energetically, to overcome that feeling of being drained. There's only so many thoughts and intentions we can have. But we can sleep, we can hydrate, and we can kind of recharge physically. And then if we're exposed to that same environment with fresh sleep, fully hydrated, grounded, and aligned physically, good posture, all of the things, then our experience is going to be probably dramatically different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and so I'd also like to just finish, my thought. I started saying that there are the physical, mental, and spiritual ways that we can protect our energy and relate with outside energy in a better way. You spoke a lot to the mental approaches, by bringing in what you want to experience. And I just like to kind of put a different spin on it also by saying, I agree. I think this is where we have the most leverage. And I think in addition to, bringing what you want to experience, I think what is so important, and I know you will agree with me, is simply acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, we can be in New York City, we can notice all the crazy, motion from place to place, cars going everywhere, honking, hostility, whatever it is that we witness, and we can say, oh my God, this is awful. Or we could say, oh, or we could just observe it from a neutral place. Because as soon as we judge something, then we're bringing our own energy down, and
Totally.
we will be more susceptible to soaking in whatever that hostility is, or whatever that, whatever the energy is. That's, that's at least the way I see it.
100%.
So when we're really just present in the moment and can just accept things for what they are, then we are strengthening our energy.
Yeah, it reminds me, like, if you're watching a movie and there's this kind of dramatic movie that we're sitting in the audience watching the movie on the big screen, and we can be really comfortable in our seat in the movie theater, sitting back, eating our popcorn, watching the movie. But if we get wrapped up in what's going on, we can lose ourselves, and it could be stressful. Mm-hmm. So if we this is kind of a difficult, long-winded way of saying, if we displace ourselves a little bit from the physical context of where we are, enough to kind of see it as if it were a movie picture, a drama, then it can be actually like entertaining, and it can actually provide a little bit of levity to kind of see things from a new perspective. And I think that if we all learn to relate to the challenging moments in our life from a little bit of distance and perspective, we would naturally become more resilient and grounded energetically in that environment, mm-hmm. able to kind of, persevere and overcome things with more grace. So
yeah,
that's kind of tends to be my path or intention when things are kind of sticky energetically. I just kind of, I'm in my body. I'm always in my body. My spirit is embodied. But I try to just like look down on the bigger picture and see how, just see my place in it all and remember what that is.
Right. Well, because if we can remember that no one has the power over us to change our mood, it's so easy to, we talked about this last week, to blame other people for making your mood go down or be cranky or be angry
or go up.
And the same actually really goes for energy as well, because as we've talked about in previous conversations, every human being has an innate source of well-being, wisdom, connection with the universe, energy. It's all energy. And so yeah, we can kind of give our power away by saying, oh, being in this really busy environment makes me feel low. Mm-hmm. And the more that we believe that, the more we're going to experience it.
Yeah.
So
kind of wrapping things up.
Well, yeah, and I just want to speak to that more spiritual, that last bit that I wanted to speak to, that spiritual essence of energy, who we are. Energy is really everything. So really, really understanding that you are connected to this infinite source will change everything. And when you bring that understanding into an environment, often you may experience greater protection from those evil outside forces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do, in this conversation, I do find it interesting that really, when we're talking about energy, good energy, bad energy, positive energy, negative energy, there is inherently judgment. You know, not like there is from our human egoic perspective, but I think it's important to just take the edge off of that judgment and just kind of see things like you're saying through just a more neutral what is kind of perspective. And yeah, I just thought, you know, to wrap things up, reminding us all of the importance of, you know, how this plays into our physical health, our immune system, our circulatory system, our hormones, our neurotransmitters. These are all things that are energetically influenced. When we talk about, you know, being in this like quote unquote negative energetic experience where we're relating with our the nature of the environment that we're in, if we're talking about it from, you know, this is bad, this feels, you know, I feel bad, I feel tension in my body, I feel constriction, we need to remember that that's exactly what is happening physiologically. There is tension, there is constriction, there is decreased immunity, there is decreased circulation, there is increased blood pressure and blood sugar, and, you know, all of these inflammatory cascades that are happening in the body. So when we're talking energetic stuff, you know, it does feel and seem woo woo. It's hard to grasp. You know, hopefully after this conversation with some examples, we can grasp things a little bit, you know, more firmly and be empowered in that. And also, you know, just remembering the important connection that it has with how you're physiologically functioning. You know, absolutely dramatically an important part of your physical health is your energetic relationships and how you're caring for and nurturing your energetic body in any given moment.
Mm-hmm.
So
Great.
good stuff.
Good stuff.
And on that note, I mean, I do feel like there are some physical things like hydration and maybe, you know, there are some physical things to kind of tend to.
Yeah, don't forget to tend to those aspects as well.
And this was a good little pep talk for me because, you know, we just landed in New York last night. It's our first full day in the city, and we have a few more full days to go. So I intend to bring my fullest to all of those energetic environments, and let us know what you think. Let us know if any of this resonates, if you what your experience is with your energetic body and your energetic relationships. Do you feel what we're saying, or is this like totally cuckoo nonsense? And yeah, we look forward to seeing you next week.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.